school, as defined in this act, is any building that is currently operational for the intent purpose of educating and instructing students. A public school should not be defined as any college or university.
And I'm fine with that. I'm agreeable to that amendment.
All right, Mr. Williams P. has offered an amendment. He moves for its adoption. The gentleman introduced the first amendment. Any questions of Mr. Williams P. on his amendment? Ms. Moore M. on the amendment by Mr. Williams P.
What happened if it's a private school? Is it just a public school?
This is for public schools.
But it wouldn't matter, I mean, if it was a private school? When those students?
My amendment only defines a public school as an operational facility for the intent purpose of instructing public school students.
Well, I was going to speak on the bill too itself, because it's only talking about a public school, but other school children would be affected the same way. You know what I mean? It was a private school, church school, or whatever that was located there. That's I'm concerned about your amendment, because it doesn't protect the other schools.
Mine is focused on public schools.
And that's it. Because the bill is dealing with just public schools.
All right, the question now is on adoption of the amendment by Mr. Williams P. If you're in favor of that motion, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote no. The clerk will lock the machine and the members will vote. Have all the members voted? Clerk will lock the machine. Record the vote. 79 ayes, 5 nays, and the amendment is adopted. All right, Mr. Henry moves final passage. Chair recognizes Mr. Bracy of Mobile.
I did.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the recognition of Gentleman Yield.
Yes, sir.
And man, I'm not here to filibuster your bill, even though I know if your name's fine, it's probably something that I'm on the other side of. Usually it's is this the gun bill?
I didn't carry the gun bill.
Yeah, you did. You didn't, but you did.
I did.
Yeah, you were very actively involved in that process. I've done some research on this last week, and I have a couple of questions. I'm probably not going to take the entire time, but how many clinics do we have right now currently in the state of Alabama?
I do not know.
But you, is it 3? Is it 4?
You tell me. I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
So
I can guess, but
guess. Can you guess for me?
Three
like
or
how many
four.
people do you
3 or
think
4.
How many people do you think will be affected by this?
I don't know.
Okay. What's the intent of, is the intent of this legislation to make it where it will be difficult, because we have so many schools, is the intent of the legislation to make it difficult for any clinic to be able to operate in the state?
No, it goes along the same lines as, we have ordinances all throughout the state on where bars can be located, where, liquor stores can be located, where you, even to go as far as in some municipalities where a sign can be located as to how big it can be. Even down to, you mentioned guns. There was, in this last bill that we passed through here, there was language that prior to that legislation passing, you couldn't be within 1,000 feet of a protest, even with your concealed carry permit. So we have these types of ordinances throughout our code in all various shapes and forms, but this one is just saying that a child at a public school should not be subject to all of the goings on either side, on the opponent or the proponent, side of the abortion issue. And it's just not, the atmosphere is very volatile, and it just shouldn't happen around those kids.
So the intent of this legislation, you say, is to not actually close the clinic?
No, there's nothing in this will close the clinics if they want to operate, as long as they're not in that proximity to a school, so that those children are subjected to that type of exposure on a daily basis.
But with the amount of schools that we have, especially in, I would think more of our urban areas, where you have more schools that will be closer together, where you would have middle school, elementary, and high school not far from each other, wouldn't that make it more difficult? Let's say, for instance, in Mobile County, where we may have 100 schools, would that make it difficult for a clinic to operate at all within that county?
I think it probably would, but Mobile's a wet city, and you guys have bars, I'm sure, and I would imagine you have local ordinances that restrict that those bars can't be within so many feet of a church or a school.
I'm not familiar with those.
I'm sure you do. Most everybody does. And yes, it makes it difficult on those business owners to fall within those ordinances. But those ordinances are there for a reason. And that's basically what I'm saying here. This is for a reason. It's not just an arbitrary, we don't want this. This is something that's come up, and there are children being exposed to a part of the world that they probably aren't ready for at that stage in their life.
So basically, what you're saying is, if you live in an urban type area, like let's say a Mobile or a Huntsville, where you may have a lot of public schools, it will make it difficult for clinics to operate in those areas because of this stipulation?
I don't think it would make it difficult. It would restrict some areas because it's a zoning type law, just like they wouldn't be able to open, bars or anything, a liquor store.
Right. And the reason why I asked is because, and I'm not sure if it's 3 or 4, I'm not sure of the exact number of clinics, but I know that for the most part they will be more in the larger cities in the state. And if they are in the larger cities in the state, and the larger cities have more public schools than anywhere else in the state, it would just about force the closure of the clinics located in those areas, because those are the only areas where they're located. You see what I'm saying? Like Mobile would be one of the only places where you could get this type of service within the state, and I'm just wondering how
I have not heard that this bill would in any way close even a majority of the clinics that we have in the state. And I don't know if because I live in North Alabama, I hear about the one in Huntsville that is in conflict, but have you heard of any of the ones in South Alabama that are in conflict?
Not yet, but the more that we talk about it, and I think about, we have, over 100 public schools in Mobile County, it just kind of makes me wonder how my end of the state would be affected, because I see now that the north side has already been affected, where a person moves or had to close the clinic and started to open a new clinic based off of the guidelines, and now something like this could potentially close that clinic. And I'm just wondering, how does that affect other areas of the state, and if the true intent is to make it where it would be difficult to have a clinic, period, in the state, like if that's the goal or not. I mean, if that's the goal, with you being the sponsor of the bill, I mean, I can understand that if that's the goal, and I could just sit down if that's the goal. But if it's something that
the goal is for the children that are going back and forth. They're traveling to school every day on these roads, and they're witnessing, and some of these things on both sides are extremely graphic. And so you have kids that are seeing a side of the world that the majority of them probably aren't prepared for. And so we're just saying, just like with alcohol and
We don't have a law like that, that a store couldn't sell alcohol by so many feet of.
you just said you didn't know.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking more and more about it now, where you have stores that's across the street from school.
Well,
You know, so
but they may apply to bars. I mean, they may, a lot of times they'll do those more than they will.
so it's like the
liquor
off-premise
store.
and the difference in like an off-premise and an on-premise, like, okay. Yeah, because initially I would say I don't know, but, you know, now that
you're
I think more
thinking.
about it, you know, we have gas stations that's right by school.
Still, right.
Things like that, right, you know, because we are, like you
But
said.
it probably is the off-limit, carrying it off premises. Yeah.
Okay. So, your intent of this bill is strictly to shelter the kids from both sides of the open abortion debate in the public eye.
Correct.
And so this bill right here has no intent on targeting or trying to close any abortion facility.
No, it's not a targeted piece of legislation. It has come to my attention that there is one that's going to be in conflict, but when I saw this idea, I agreed with the whole concept that if you go to a clinic and you see the protests that are going on any given day, there are people on both sides that are very, very passionate about their beliefs, and those two passions hit daily, and it's an uproar. It's a disturbance in a community right in front of children that are trying to go to school and improve their education. And that's the reason for this bill, is to say we don't need that right in front of these children.
Since it's such an uproar, you think for your next gun bill, you can make sure that the protesters and people that's outside of these clinics can't have concealed carry weapons, because we're so high on both sides of the issue.
We would need to,